It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. As we kickstart a very important discussion, especially if you're a business owner, no matter how big or small the space that you play in. In today's economy, many of us are having to work harder to earn a living, bottom line. And whether you've been running a business for some time or you're an entrepreneur that's just starting out, taking those first few brave steps, you may need to resolve a business disagreement along the line. Chances are it's going to happen. And the company's tribunal is a world-class adjudicatory and dispute resolution organization that contributes to the promotion of fair and ethical business practices throughout South Africa. And here to tell us a little bit more about their incredible work is their chairperson, Judge Dennis Davis. Judge, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
No Scotch eggs to offer you just yet.
So really? Sorry. Why not?
We're warming them up. They're on the way. They're on the way.
So mingy.
So, Judge, permission to approach the bench. I would like to ask you about the organisation and what it is that you do practically.
Well, the company's tribunal was set up because if you're going to be a company
Yes.
and you want to go to court, it's going to cost you a hell of a lot of money.
Correct.
So the idea was to have a statutory body which was going to allow people to resolve all sorts of disputes with regard to the companies. In other words, was a director's dispute, or alternatively, you have a name for your company.
Yes.
And some of the company says, but it's the same name.
You borrowed it from someone.
Now, how on earth do you deal with that? So those are sort of issues whereby, for very little money, small businesses in particular can approach our tribunal and have their disputes resolved.
Wow.
And these kind of disputes can be game-ending for a lot of small companies. So,
Sure.
It's a massive gateway that I'm sure has killed many small businesses before they've even gotten up and running. Do you need to have legal representation when we enter into your space?
No, thank goodness not. It's not a bad idea.
Coming from you, that means
not a bad
lot,
idea
so.
not to have lawyers there. But the answer is no. You can come on your own. Look, if you've got a really complicated thing, it's not such a bad idea to have a lawyer, because the papers that are drafted are often very confusing if they're drafted by a layperson. But there's no reason why lay people can't approach the tribunal on their own, and they do.
And hence why the tribunal is comprised of lawmakers and those that have walked this path.
That's the point. You're supposed to have experienced people who are actually going to be doing the thing. But if you think about it, it costs an enormous amount to get a lawyer to go to court. It bankrupts a small company with
dead in the water, yeah.
Absolutely right.
Well, let's look at the recourse available to any company if they're not happy with a decision. Is there any such thing?
Well, in our case, if you go to us, you can take it, what's called on review to the court, which is different to an appeal, meaning did we do it properly and is it reasonable and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go into technicalities, but it's a big difference between going to a court and then finding, as we all know, that people then appeal the decision and it goes on forever.
And never stops, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So one of the benefits then for seeking a speedy resolution, it strikes me that when we go to court, it speaks to a line in the sand and it's the past.
Yeah.
The way that you resolve issues is very much about moving forward, about empowering and hopefully keeping some partnerships, because we need to work. We can't work in isolation. But in your mind, what are some of the real benefits for us taking a dispute to you guys as opposed to going the legal
Well,
route?
firstly, there's the process of mediation, which is exactly what I think you're talking about,
Yeah.
which is if you get into a courtroom, you're on the one side, you're on the other side.
Exactly.
The adversarial basis of the relationship is you're going to never repair that.
Yes.
So firstly, there's a mediation, which means one tries to actually mediate between two parties and says, for goodness sake, let's stop being in an adversarial position. You guys have got to work together in future. So let's solve
We don't need to get divorced.
Yeah.
We can do this.
Well, that's the most costly thing of all, as we all know. so that's the first part. Secondly, if you're going to have to go to what we call adjudication, where you can't mediate and therefore you have to make a decision, the big difference is it's a much more informal process. It's speedier. You get there very quickly. Within 2-3 weeks, you can be in the tribunal.
Wow.
And hopefully within 2-3 weeks, you can be out of the tribunal.
Brilliant.
Now, if you take a court, it takes forever. You try go to any high court in the country, you're going to wait 6 months, 9 months, a year. Then you've got to get the decision, then somebody appeals. And before you know it, you haven't got a resolution to your dispute, and it's cost you an arm and a leg.
Completely.
Yeah. When a company is watching our conversation and is thinking, okay, how do I approach the tribunal? There's got to be platforms for more information. I think that sometimes these resources are available, but they seem quite inaccessible. So how do we contact you?
Well, presumably, I'm the most, technologically idiotic human being, but by and large, there is a website.
Oh, great.
If you simply Google Companies Tribunal will get there within a minute.
Well, you want the
Fantastic.
quarterback to be thinking about quarterback things. And,
No, it's not my
I was going to send you a fax. I was just saying, but that also
that's
works.
a very wonderful old-fashioned way.
In fact, my pager number hasn't changed. I think we can deal with that. In your experience, because there is a reason why that you've taken this leap and you're leading the charge in this space. Why did we need this? Why, in a South African context, why do you think this is so important?
Because, well, firstly, because the idea was, I'll tell you where it all comes from. Many people know the competition authorities. So, in other words, the Competition Commission and Tribunal worked really very well. Instead of having a straight court system, you had people who built up expertise in an area.
Yes.
And that meant, in other words, you worried about your price of Scotch eggs, so you rush off to the Competition Commission and they will sort you out. So the idea was, could we not do the same within companies? In other words, instead of having all the whole stuff about going to court, you have specialist people in a tribunal, paid for by the state, therefore it's all cheap, expeditious, etc. That was the reason. It was a parallel system to the success of the competition arena. Yeah, that was...
Thank you for
This is
doing
great.
this.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
It's fantastic, and of course we're going to have to the website as well, which is indeed it's companiestribunal.org.za.
That's better than I
Have you
did.
ever been to the
There we go.
website?
Have you been to the website before? to
Yes,
take a
I
look?
have. No,
you
I
seen your
can
face?
type in. I can. Yes, I can.
Okay,
type in.
great.
Do you still say www?
Oh, this
I'm
is
going to get
wonderful.
thrown out of court in just a moment.
Judge, thank you so much for joining us. And of
Pleasure.
course,
Thank you for having
it's,
me.
Anytime, and it's great that there is a platform for you. If you are looking for an organisation to assist in settling a business dispute, the tribunal exercises its functions in accordance with the Act and, of course, performs its functions fairly, without fear, favour or prejudice, in a transparent manner, which is very, very important as well.
So you can visit companiestribunal.org.za.
There it
I
is.
left out the www. And you can get in touch and find out more. It's about empowerment, without a doubt. So if you need their help, go and lean on them.